Hello, I'm Olivia, and I'm using this video to bring awareness to Bpes, which is a rare genetic eye condition. I'm wanting to share my experience and give individuals advice. So Bpes stands for Blepharophimosis, ptosis, epicanthus syndrome, which is the narrowing of the eyelids, drooping of the eyelid, and just a different formation where the inner corner of the eye is, I guess, further away from the nose. There's two types. There is type 2, which is primarily the formation of the eye where there is a lack of muscle that lifts the lid. And in type 1, it includes the 4 characteristics that I had described, in addition to the effects of the ovaries. So it's the mutation on the FOXL2 gene, and this can lead to premature ovarian insufficiency. So women who have this will have irregular periods, sometimes scant, sometimes they don't have periods at all. Basically, it's like a menopause, essentially. Couples that are interested in conceiving, there's alternative therapies and IVF, hormone replacement therapies, adoption, and determining whether or not you're type 1 or type 2 would be down to genetic testing, which I can't speak about because I haven't had it done. So I'm going to speak a little bit about my experience with the surgery and what I kind of know about it. So because when I was born, I didn't have the muscle to lift my eyelids, they did a frontalis sling, which is what it's called. They take the fascia lata, which is a muscle in the thigh on the outer aspect of the thigh. They take some of the muscle and they actually use it to connect your eyelid to your eyebrow muscle. So this allows the individual to blink, which is very cool. They also did a levator resection and a widening of the eyelid. So they open up the lid more because it's narrow in the beginning. They widen the eye, and they correct the drooping. Some individuals choose not to have the surgery, and sometimes parents have the pros and cons list and decide to make that decision for their child. There is no right or wrong. And in my circumstance, it was more of a safety hazard. So the surgery was free. I'd have to lift my head back to see fully. Sometimes I think I'd forget, and my parents would always have to remind me to lift my head up. But growing up, I didn't really have a knowledge base on what it was. I asked questions as I was curious, but my parents didn't really have enough information to fully explain. My father has it, and it is linked to his side of the family. It wasn't until grade 11 where I decided that I was going to figure it out for myself because I had a biology project about genetics, and I thought that I would kind of look into my genetics and see where it would take me. And I did find some great information and a Facebook group, which actually made me feel more a part of a community and I didn't feel so alone, essentially. But with my experience, I went to when in elementary, I went to 2 different schools, and I would say that I've always tried to keep my social group supportive. And so I would, so I basically, like, they weren't making me feel abnormal or like out of the group, stuff like that. But of course, like, there is those times where you have someone that's curious, people stare, name calling, that all happens, and a lot of us like have gone through like traumatic scenarios, and it really does take a hold of your self-esteem at times. But I wanted to I think just remind everyone that, I think everyone has a cross to bear, whether it be physical, like visually, or something that, people can't see with their own eye. And I think that we're all perfect, and that we should just take the word of imperfection out of our vocabulary, because we were all born unique. And I love my eyes, and I feel like when I was younger, there was times where, I didn't at sometimes, but I feel like that is in the whole process of getting older, feeling comfortable in your skin, and keeping a really good supportive group around you. Because that is very important. And as a parent, I'm not a parent, but I feel like I could give some advice for parents that have children that have Bpes, is to just don't make them feel different from other siblings, or boost up their confidence when they're younger, and don't make it about their facial, like their appearance, and encourage your child to seek out supportive groups that make them feel a part. Because I think too, growing up, I would take it personally when people would ask me what my ethnicity was, or any question about my eyes, or I feel like I just had to wrap my head around the fact that, a lot of people aren't trying to be malicious, but they're just being curious, because this genetic condition, it's rare and you don't see it very often. And people, are just looking because they're curious. But in the times where people are, like, kids in the workplace, like, you name it, there's people in the crowd that are actually trying to be mean, I feel like you should just see it as it's their own insecurities that are coming out. And I think sticking up for yourself goes a long way. Or to have mechanisms to bypass. For example, there was a fellow classmate of mine, and she picked up on the fact that I moved my eyelids and my eyebrows at the same time, and she's just like, wow, like, how do you do that? Like, out of just curiosity. in front of many people, mind you. And I just said, thank you for noticing. It takes years of practice. So, I mean, that was just kind of a way of handling something that it could have really brought me down, but instead I tried to change the conversation, and it was kind of more of a joke in my head than anything. But, you know, everyone was born different, and I think that instead of picking apart, you know, we shouldn't be picking apart on people's differences, because we should be bringing each other together rather than apart. But thank you very much for listening to my video, and for anyone, any parent that has any questions or needs advice or tips, because I could go on for a while, just give me a shout, and I'd be totally willing to talk with you. Thank you. Bye-bye.